All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to write the first sentence of a summary. So the two things that we want to make sure that we get in this one is understanding what the purpose is of a summary, and also learning how to write that first topic sentence. And we'll talk a little bit about what the structure is of a summary, or at least what it is. So before we get started, there's two things that we want to review. The first thing we want to talk about is plagiarism. So the technical definition of plagiarism is the uncredited use of someone else's work as your own. But basically what that means is that you are writing down someone else's ideas, either using their own exact words or a copy of their words. But the important thing is that you're not giving credit. You're not saying who said this. Now, when you're writing a summary, you don't really have to worry about plagiarism because you're going to give credit. You are going to have to worry about the second issue, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means putting someone else's words into your own words, right? So when you're writing a summary, you're going to give credit to whoever wrote the article that you're summarizing. But the thing that you're going to need to learn how to do is to paraphrase, which is putting things into your own words. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. All right, so first, let's ask this question. In chapter 3 of the book of building college reading schools, it talks about how to identify the main ideas. So go ahead and take just a second and write down how you would answer this question for yourself. If you're reading an article, how can you identify the main idea in that piece of writing? Or it probably is going to be the same things as if you're reading a paragraph. How would you identify the main idea? All right, we'll get to the answer to that in just a second, but let's answer a couple of other questions first. Our first question is, what is a summary? Now, you may have an idea of what a summary is. For our purposes, we have a specific definition of it. So basically, a summary is a shortened version of a longer piece of writing in which you use your own words to highlight the important ideas. So another way of saying that is basically a summary is saying what is the main idea and the important supporting details that are in an article that you've read, and you write it in a short form, a much shorter form than the. So another question you might ask is, well, why should we learn how to summarize? Why are we teaching summarizing? Well, it's a useful reading skill, even though it's actually a writing skill. The really hard work that goes into summarizing is actually the reading and understanding, because it's easy for us to summarize something that we understand. It's very difficult for us to summarize something that's difficult. So oftentimes you'll be asked to summarize to show that you understand what you've read. Another reason to learn how to summarize is that it will improve your comprehension or your understanding of what you've just read. If you read something and then you can say it again in your own words, that shows one thing, that you understand it, but it'll help you. The skills that we're going to talk about for learning how to summarize will help you in general with your comprehension of what you've read. The other thing that's useful, especially in college where you have to read a lot, is that when you learn how to summarize, you're going to be able to pick out the main idea and the major supporting details. And what this will allow you to do is to be able to identify what parts of an article are actually important for you to focus on and which parts are unimportant. Because you're going to be doing so much reading in your college career, it's going to be useful for you to have some sort of cheats to help it go a little bit faster. And also, the skills that you're going to develop here while you're summarizing are going to help you with reading and using articles in your research in college, when you're studying, and then even on at work, where you may be asked to read something for work. All right, so let's go back to this question that we talked about earlier. So what did you come up with? What were the ideas that you wrote down? All right, well, let's go through some of the ideas that we've seen already in the book. So there's 3 steps here to identifying the main idea. The first thing when you're reading something is you want to figure out what is the topic. So remember that the topic is who or what the article is about. One of the great places to figure out the topic is in the title. So a lot of times ESL students get these 2 words confused, the word topic and title. They think they mean the same thing, but they don't. The topic, again, is who or what the article is about, and the title is the name of the article. Now, the similarity between the 2 of them is that oftentimes the title will have the topic in it. Another way that we can try to find the topic is look for words that are repeated throughout the article. The second thing that we need to, once we have decided what the topic is, we need to ask ourselves, well, what is the author saying about the topic? And this can be called the controlling idea, right? What is the author's point? This is the topic. What is the author saying about this topic? We want to look, if we're looking at a paragraph, we want to look for a topic sentence. If we're looking at an article, we want to look for maybe a thesis statement or some sort of sentence that gives us a sense of what the whole thing is describing. And the third thing we can do when we're writing a summary is that we can combine the topic and controlling idea and turn it into a question. And then we can scan over the article and make sure all the article answers that question. So what that means is basically if we have the topic sentence and we turn it into a question, as we read, we can see whether or not this question is answered in the article. If it is answered, then generally that can be our main. So this is what we're going to talk about now. How do we begin a summary? So we want to begin with a summary topic sentence, right? This is going to be the most important part of the summary. And it has to include at least 3, but normally 4 parts. So it needs to include the title of the article. It needs to include the name of the article, the name of the author. Sometimes we're not given the name of the author. In that case, we will just include the word the author. But if we do have the name of the author, we do need to include both the first and last name. We also want to include a reporting verb. There's some examples here of reporting verbs in the parentheses. And then we want to include the main idea in our own words, or paraphrased, put into our own words. So there's 4 different ways that we can write a topic sentence, and we'll go through each one of them here. In version 1, we're going to start off with the title of the book. Then we have a comma, then we have the author's name, a reporting verb, and then the main idea. So in this one, we start with in, and here's the title of the book or the article. In the Certainty of Fear, here's the author's name, Audra Kendall, and then here's a reporting verb. Notice the reporting verb is in the simple present tense, right? And then we have the main idea is the rest of the sentence, and that's put into our own words. The second version is similar in that it has a comma here, but the structure is different. So we're going to start off with in, and then we have the title, and then we have the word here by, and then we have the author's name. Now, one thing I want you I want you to keep in mind here is that when we use by and then we use the author's name, we put a comma after the author's name, and then we need to include the word the author, right? So in this one, because we have the by here, this word here, the author's name, can't be the subject for the reporting verb because it's after a preposition. So we need to put in the word the author, use the reporting verb, and the main idea. So if we look at this one here, we can see It says in, here's the title. Notice also with the title of an article, we always use quotation marks. And you'll notice this in every one of these versions. There's quotation marks. And then we have by. Here we have the author's name, a comma after it, and then we need to include the word the author. And then the reporting verb in the simple present tense, and then the main idea. The third version, in my opinion, is the simplest version to use, mainly because it doesn't require any commas and it's pretty straightforward. So in this one, we start off with the author's name and then we have in. Notice that in it is in all of these versions in front of the title. And then we have the reporting verb and the main idea. So in this one, again, author's name, and then we have in, the name of the article. Notice that there's no comma here, right? There's no commas in this one at all. Says, and then we go through the rest of it. And then our third version is a little bit different than the other two. We'll notice that in the third version, we only include the author's name, the title of the book, and the main idea. We don't include a reporting verb. So we're going to start off with the words according to, then the author's name. We still are using in front of the name of the title, and then we have a comma here, and we have the main idea. Notice that when we're writing the main idea in this one, it has to be a complete sentence because it's not coming after a verb. So it looks something like this, right? According to Audra Kendall in her essay, the certainty of fear, comma, and then we have the main idea, which is a complete sentence there. Okay, so we're going to practice using all four of these versions, but you really only need to master and remember one of them for. So the thing that you want to do right now is you want to open up your book to page 130 of Building Reading Skills, and you want to look at practice 7. On practice 7, there are 6 different topic sentences, right? So we know that these topic sentences or main ideas include the main idea. So what we want to do is for each of those, for 2 through 6, you want to write one of the summary topic sentences. So we have 4 versions. You want to use each version at least once. For the 5th one, you can choose whatever you want. So if you have your book open on page 130, if you look at number 1, you'll see that the topic sentence is living alone has a number of advantages, right? So we're going to use as the title of the article, check your understanding, and then we're going to put a comma after that. So this is version 1. Now we don't have the author's name, so notice that when we don't have the author's name, we just use the word the author in the place that the author's name goes. So in check your understanding, the author, here's the reporting verb, states that there's several benefits to living alone. You'll notice here that I'm using the same topic as that topic sentence, but I've changed the rest of the sentence, so it's my own ideas. So we want to make sure that when we're paraphrasing, that we're not just copying the entire sentence, but that we're making it substantially different. Even if we're using some of the same words, we're not using them in the exact same order. All right, so good luck with that.